In order to install a new starter on a 350 engine, it's going to be a bit back and forth with the starter gear here because you have to get the correct tooth engagement. We put a little bit of black paint on the main pinion gear here, and what's going to happen once we install this in the engine, it's going to rub that black paint away wherever it's touching that main gear, and we'll have an idea of what our tooth engagement is. Typically you want about 75% or 3/4 tooth engagement. If it's more than that, you might start grinding a little bit. It might not run as smooth, it might run louder. Or if it's not quite enough, well, then you're just touching on the tips and it might start to wear away. You need to hook these up. You have the main positive terminal right here, which is the biggest connection. This terminal right here, which has a little S by it, and that's the switch connection. The biggest connection right here, the positive, goes directly to the positive terminal on the battery. Here's the old starter with all 4 brushes, and some of them were so far worn down. It was wearing down to this bolt right here. It was pretty bad. So you could just replace these brushes. That was about $15, but you could also get a new starter for like $45. So in our case, it was worth it just to go with a completely brand new starter. Set the starter in place and tighten the bolts just enough where this isn't going to be falling down. I'll connect the positive terminal. This other wire here, which almost might look like a ground wire, is actually a direct connection to the positive terminal of the battery, and that also connects to the positive terminal on the starter. And there's 2 connections. There's that red little eye hook that goes on there, and this cable. Now you can see they're both on there. Then the switch connection. Just make sure that the ignition wire right here is connected to the terminal that has an S beside it. It's real tight up here, but a stubby wrench helps. We'll connect up the battery. Let's crank it over and see how it sounds. The old starter didn't have a shim whenever we took it apart, and the wear on these teeth looks just like how it should be. There's not any wearing down at the bottom of the grooves, so we didn't add a shim whenever we put the new one in, and it still sounds great. There's not any grinding. If we did have a problem, like a grinding sound, whenever we took it back off, that paint would really show us where it was grinding, but it's easier to put the paint on before than it is after.